back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be about how I self-studied for 4 months to get a 167 on the LSAT. So basically, what I thought I'd share with you guys today is some tips and tricks about how I was able to do that, share some of the resources that I used during my study journey, and I thought maybe it could help some of you out there who are just starting your LSAT journey and are kind of looking for different resources and tips on how to go about it. So just to give you a little bit of background about me, my diagnostics was 149, so I was able to increase my score by 18 points in 4 months. I did the LSAT back in August, and it was the first time that I was taking the LSAT. I did not use any tutors or any kind of one-on-one help in the 4 months, and just use different kinds of books and online resources to reach that score. So I personally started with the PowerScore Bibles, and I got the 3 books, the one for logical reasoning, the logic games, and reading comprehension, the 2020 edition. I'll show you, if you guys probably already know, but this is one of them, logical reasoning. And I basically gave myself a timeline, and I think that's really important to do for those of you who are in a restricted timeline. For example, if you're planning on doing the LSAT within 4 months, 5 months, you have a limited time. What you want to do at the beginning is not only look for resources, but also set up a timeline for you. For me, I sat down and I wrote it in my planner and said, okay, I'm gonna finish the PowerScore books in a month or a month and a half, and then I'm gonna start doing practice tests. So that's the kind of timeline I had in mind, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I ended up taking 2 months to finish all 3 books and 2 months to do prep tests, but the timeline kind of helped sort of conceptualize that plan in my head, so I knew where I was going. I did go through all 3 of the PowerScore books, and this is the one that I went with because I felt that a lot of people had good results from the people that I talked to. And after studying them, I can tell you that especially the logic games Bible is really helpful. So if I were to rank the PowerScore Bibles, I would say the logic games is the most helpful and the reading comprehension is the least helpful. At least for me, that's how I felt. I think that the concepts and the techniques that they teach you in logic games really helps you to improve. So take me for example. Logic games was my weakest section starting off. I scored 7 out of 23 on my diagnostics. I was really worried about that section, so that's the book that I started with. And I ended up in the most recent prep test that I did before doing the actual test, my score was ranging from 21 to 23. So I improved tremendously, and I would say right off the bat, like finishing the book, not doing any kind of prep test, I would get about 17 out of 23, which is a 10-point increase from just doing the diagnostics, like right before doing the book and after doing the book. So it really helped me. If I were to go back, I probably would either not purchase the reading comprehension Bible or just kind of skim through it, because I feel like they try to teach you a lot of techniques, which can be helpful, but the most important thing that you need to realize for reading comprehension is that it takes time and practice for you to reach a kind of speed that they're looking for on the LSAT. Time is everything. Time is everything in general for the LSAT, because you have a very limited time to do a broad range of things. But especially for reading comprehension, even in my final LSAT that I took, I was not able to finish every single question very diligently, like I would if I was just on time, right? So that's very important. I would say logical reasoning Bible is also pretty helpful. But if you're going with one of the books, if you, for example, don't want to spend all that money on all of the books, I would just go with the logic games book. When I finished all of the books, all of the theory, and I took very diligent notes so I could go back to it at some point. So I did that for 2 months. I went through all of them. I took a lot of notes. I made sure I just consumed all the information there was. And then I started with the official LSAT prep test. So I started with this one. It's basically the prep test 52 to 61, and the timeline, let me just open it. It's from basically 2007 to 2010. So I made sure I started with an older one. So what I would do during this time, every time I would finish one of the power score books. So let's say I finished logic games. When I started the next book, let's say logical reasoning, while studying that next book, I would do sections of the previous book that I finished studying. So I did sections of logic games after I finished the book while I was reading the next book. So kind of prepping me for that, for the whole, test, the big test with all of the sections. And I would do it timed, so I would be very much used to the time restriction, because as I've said, time is a huge thing in LSAT, and you need to get used to that right off the bat, get used to it, that you need to finish it in that 35 minutes. Halfway through doing the LSAT prep test, I decided to sign up for 7Sage resource online. And for those of you who might not know, when you sign up for the Plus package, you basically get the curriculum, which are a bunch of videos where the concepts of LSAT are explained, and you also get all of the prep tests. I don't know, I think from the first one to 90, I don't know what the limit, I can't remember exactly what the limit is, but you get that, and you get explanation videos for every single question on any of the LSATs that they have. So they explain to you why, I don't know, A is wrong and B is right? Like from the answer choices, because it's a multiple choice. So I got that, and I highly recommend that as well. I mean, I didn't use the curriculum, and I wish there was an option where I could just have the prep test and the explanation videos, but those alone were really, really helpful for me. Especially because the 7Sage has an option where you can simulate LSAT Flex. So they basically just choose 3 sections for you, one of each of the sections that you have to do. And then after I would do the prep test, I basically did a blind review of the test before seeing my score results. Then I would take a long time to go through every single question and answer that I got, and see what I got right, what I got wrong, and why I did that. And so I'll show you an example, if I have example of my notes. These are kind of the messy notes, and I don't think you can see them because I did them in pencil, but basically I will go through all of the questions every single time in all of the prep tests, and basically reason with myself why I got something right, why I got something wrong. I would especially focus on the wrong ones, but then I wouldn't neglect the right ones, because you do need to focus on that as well. And basically what I would recommend to you while doing the prep test, first of all, give yourself a good amount of time to do prep test. I cannot stress enough how important practices are. I mean, I don't agree with people who say, oh, you don't need the theory, you just have to go and do practices and practice and practices. I don't think that works. You do need a basis, especially for all of the sections, especially for logic games, but even for reading comprehension, you do need to know what to look for, how to go about things, right? You do need that theory, but you really, really need that practice as well. And that's why I give myself 2 months. What I would recommend is maybe setting a certain number of prep tests a week. So telling yourself, I'm gonna do 2 to 3 prep tests. That's what I did. 2 to 3 prep tests a week and really committing to that goal. So I did about 2 to 3 every week. And after I did the prep test, before moving on to another prep test, I would make sure I went through every single question in every single section. What you want to do is kind of keep a journal of your wrong answers. For example, when you're going through, let's say, logical reasoning, what I did was I would write down the questions I got wrong. What type of questions were they? Why did I get it wrong? What was the reason behind me getting it wrong? And how can I improve that in the future? And I would write myself little notes, little sort of advice at the bottom of my notes, saying you should do this next time. And I would remember that because I wrote it down, right? So I would say the amount of time that you put towards a practice test, doing an actual practice test, you need to do 10 times that time to go through the practice test. For me, because I would do the LSAT flex simulation in 7th stage, it would take me about an hour and 40 minutes to do the test, right? I would take an entire day, at least an entire day, to just go through that. Because if you're just doing practice and practice tests and you're not going through your answers, there is really no point in doing practices. It just helps you go through it faster, but it doesn't help you get it, get the right answers and see why you're getting things wrong. My last recommendation is take as much time as you need to, as you can. This test is meant to mentally challenge you. This test is not meant to be easy in any kind of way. And anyone who says that it's easy or that it doesn't take that much time to figure it out, they're either, an exception to the rule, or they're not giving you good advice. I would say don't rush the LSAT. Don't think that you can do it in a month or in a half a month or something like that, that crazy timeline. You need to give yourself time. I think that I took 4 months, but I think that it would have been even a better experience, and I would have been able to get a better score if I had given myself more time. And I didn't know that going in. I thought that, okay, 4 months is a long time. Because as a student, you're used to studying for a week for a final and you can get a really, really good score and everything like that. But this is a different test. This is meant to be a test that challenges you, truly challenges you. So you do need as much time as you can, and you need a lot of practice. That's why you need a lot of time. The theory doesn't take that much time, but the practice does. The practice is very important. So that's what I would recommend. In the future videos, I will be going through my law school results. I applied to a bunch of law schools this year with my score, with my LSAT and my GPA. And so yeah, stay tuned for that. I will be doing a reaction to my law school acceptances and ultimately do a video about which law school I will be choosing to go to. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helps you with your LSAT journey. Good luck. So just to add something else, I forgot to mention that in the main video, but please, as a reminder, take care of your mental health during this journey. The LSAT journey is not easy, and especially now during the pandemic and with how isolated we all are, it can be really difficult on your mental health. And just please remember that LSAT is a test. It doesn't define you in any kind of way. So please be kind to yourself and remember that your mental well-being and happiness is the #1 priority. So I just thought that was important to share, sort of the concluding thought. And with that being said, good luck.